If I had any advice to somebody trying to do what we're doing right now, it would be to really write music that you want to hear.
Hey, folks, welcome back to the Upstate Music Channel Podcast, episode 12. I'm here with
Corey Stevenson from the Corey Stevenson Band.
and you've got a single and an album coming out in the next month.
Yeah, I got singles coming out September 12th, and then the album's coming out October 17th.
September 12th, that's an easy date to remember.
Yeah.
But it's a Bigger as Dust. And we talked about this just a few seconds ago a little bit. What is that song about?
So I seen a meme on Facebook, and it said it takes 6 people to carry your casket once you're dead and gone. Just imagine if 6 people would lift you up while you're alive. And when I seen that, it really kind of struck a nerve, because I've seen so many people, like that's kind of pushed to the side and not really cared about in the moment, and then they'll pass away, and then everybody floods in their funeral like they were their best friend. And I was like, you know what? I need to write something in that aspect. And so I read that meme, and we're riding down the road, and it stuck in my head. And we get home, we played 4 shows in a row on the road, back to back, and get home, sit down at the table, and my wife's mom had just passed, and they were talking about her ashes, and I was like, and I just started. The line says, "Better is ashes and bigger is dust." So,
Yeah.
So that come to me just one word right after another. It's almost like the song wrote itself.
Now the song, I've heard it twice. Actually, I've heard it more, because I actually went back and did a screen record on the radio interview you had a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
You did it was a West Virginia radio station. What was
WVOW?
Okay, now you're from Man, West Virginia.
Yeah.
We'll get if you don't get in the background on this episode, I'm definitely going to come back. But this one's more about your album. But Bigger as Dust, that was the question I had about, like, the song title was a little, that's different. You've got the ashes to ashes, dust to dust, and I'm like, there's a lot of packed in there. And I was on the honor guard for several years in between deployments, and we did a lot of funerals, and I did a couple of them where when you said what you said about the meme, and it's another thing that kind of hits. A couple people we've had the 3 guys that go out to do the bugle and the flagfold,
right,
and the funeral directors had to carry them. There's nobody there, and it's
wild, man.
It's humbling to see funeral directors, and this is something you may not know, a little behind the scenes, the reverence they take with it, when the integrity they have when nobody's watching. And that's one of those times, and we're the only ones there. We can just kind of blow the ceremony off, but no, we did everything right. They did too, and it's just, that's humbling.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have so much respect for the United States military and all, in all ways, shapes, and forms, man, and the sacrifices made to make sure that we have the freedom, to do what we do. And my papa was in the military, and he was in the Navy. And
I was going to say, you've got the soldier's cross, but it's with an anchor.
Yeah.
So it's that's pretty. Kind of hold it up a little bit, if you would. Just you can see it. Just roll your arm over.
Yeah,
there you go. Yeah, you can see the soldier. The soldier's cross is a rifle and a helmet on top of it, and that's got. It looks like the helmet.
Well, that's anchor. So I wanted to put everything.
He was a coal miner. Okay,
yeah, he was a coal miner, and then
I love that. That's freaking awesome.
He was. He's the reason that my belief in God and all those things, and he had a lot of influence on me as a child, and
I talked to you on the phone a couple of weeks ago, and you said something about a gospel. You had some gospel stuff you're either writing or doing.
So I wanted to do, and it's going to take a while, because we're really busy with our album and all that. But I'm a strong believer in God, and I wanted to do a gospel like compilation album.
Yeah.
And I talked to Benton Blunt and Dean and Norris. I talked to Dylan Brown, a few people that I'd really like to sing on the album, because I'm a guitar player first and singer second.
Yeah.
I sing so I can play guitar, but I talked to them and see if they want to sing a few songs, and we're going to get together and record a gospel album, and have some special guests and things on there, and it's my way of wanting to give back to God for the talent that He gave me.
Oh yeah. And next, so you grew up. When did you move to the Upstate? When did you come here?
I was 15 years old. I guess that would be 06, 07, something like that.
Okay.
I graduated in 09, so yeah, 07.
Now your education, you did something. We used to call it governor school. With it, there's something with it's an arts.
Yeah, so governor school is a little different. It's the Fine Arts Center, and I went to jazz school and studied with Steve Watson.
Okay.
It's the same. He's played with Dolly Parton, B.B. King, incredible guitar player, and even better teacher. Really nice guy. I came down. My uncle had moved to Greenville, a few years back, because him and his wife at the time his name was Lawrence, but they moved here, and they were trying to pursue music themselves because of the Tucker Band.
Oh yeah.
We're from the mountains of West Virginia, man, and we heard all the stories about the Tucker Band being from Spartanburg, and the Skinner's last show was in Greenville, so they're like, well, they were a Southern rock band, so they said, well, let's move to Greenville and pursue Southern rock, and they did. And he became a fitness trainer, and he met some people that was involved with Edwin McCain's studio, OMG Entertainment at the time, Noel Golden and a few of those guys, and I ended up doing a meeting with Noel and at OMG, and they wanted me to put together a band at the Fine Arts Center. And so they got me an audition that day to go audition for the Fine Arts Center. So I went in with Steve, and he was like, "You've got to get to Carolina." I was shredding at a young age, and I had a lot more knowledge than most at my age. So he wanted me to be a student at the Fine Arts Center. So I go into Steve's personal studio, Watson Wood, and we played some blues, and he immediately said, "If you can move down here, you'll be accepted in the Fine Arts Center." So my parents and all of us worked together, and then we had some financial help from some people, because they really wanted me down here. We ended up moving into Greenville, and I started going to the Fine Arts Center. I met a lot of cool musicians, and ended up going to Newberry College for classical guitar, which is a whole nother ball game, because I'd taken jazz that whole time, and then when
non-structure to structure and a structure.
Yeah, so the jazz is like free flowing. You have to learn to read somewhat and read the melodies, but it's improv and substitutions, all that stuff. And classical music, it is. They tell you when to soften up, when to get louder. I mean, it's all just absolute structured from the beginning to the end of the song. So I get to Newberry and start taking from a guy named Matthew Smith, and I'd go in, I'd learn somewhat of the song, and then we'd be in the middle of the song, and I'd start improvising, and he was like, no man, like this is classical. But I learned a lot, and I ended up with, you can see I got fake nails. I ended up adopting some of the classical influence into my actual playing, and so it kind of all helped. But I ended up from the Fine Arts Center, I got the music leader scholarship to go to Newberry, and which I'm glad I did, because I got to play with Victor Wooten and Steve Bailey and Wycliffe Gordon and a bunch of those like legendary players, and it was awesome, man.
How many instruments do you actually play? Because there's a key. I'm not going to spin the camera around here, but we're in your little studio. You got a keyboard to my left, and I know there's guitars everywhere, but
Yeah, that whole closet is stacked up.
I mean, I know you play bass, and drums. Any other strings?
Yeah, drums. I play mandolin, banjo. I play about 20 instruments.
Wow. And at the end of this, we'll have a fantasy man question, and mine is Neil McJunkin and Tim Lee on lead, you on bass, and Will James on drums. That's the band. I mean, and the reason is because the way you play guitar, and Neil's one of your mentors, and Tim Lee, if you've ever heard him play, you know.
Yeah, we've played together a couple times.
You know what I'm talking about. But to have you guys, you and Will, kind of behind them two guys that are just have so much experience.
Yeah, those guys are the foundation. Like,
yeah,
this is how I look at it. It's like, you know, Will James is a great guitar player, and you know, I work super hard to try to be the best that I can be. And it's not about technical ability or anything like that, but you know, people like Neil McJunkin and Tim Lee and those guys laid a foundation for us to build off of. You know, we had instructional videos and things like that, you know, and I'm sure if you talk to Will, he'd tell you the same thing. You know, he's probably had some instructional videos or studied a YouTube video here and there. And
I try to wear a funny shirt, something goofy for every podcast. The one that's gotten delivered today is I got this. I watched the YouTube video.
Yeah, man. Well, you know, we're all guilty of riding down the road and there's a lead lick that you're like, well, I've got to know this because that's happened. I played in a band called Crocodile Smile at Harris, and Ben, bless his heart, you know, we'll be on our way to the show and he'll be like, hey, I need you to know this song by tonight. And there's a 2-minute lead in it, and I'm trying to listen to it and memorize it. You know, I have really good pitch, but you know, I'll hear something. I'm like, okay, just let's make this easy real fast, and then I'll shut it off, and I'd have it down. But those guys came from a record. You know, it's not they didn't have all the technology and all the stuff that we use now. So you know, like we can listen to the 70s and 80s musicians and early to the 60s, and we can say, well, you know, I can play all that stuff, and you know, with a lot of it is not really hard if you consider it now, you know.
Yeah.
But at the time that it was created and the foundation that those guys laid for people like me and Will and the next generation, and that's what it's all about. Hopefully one day, you know, somebody will say, well, I picked up some of Corey's licks and I'm able to use them. And that's what Neil done for me. You know, it wasn't like.
That's what I was going to ask you about Neil. He was part owner of the Manor back in the 90s and it was late 90s, early 2000s, which would have been, you know, I talked to you or your dad or somebody because I think your dad had met him.
Yeah.
And then he introduced you to them and you started playing up there sometimes or something. Quickly, what's the story about it?
So Neil, my dad had went to a pawn shop and, you know, Neil was always, he's like, I guess we're a lot alike in a lot of ways. He was in there checking out guitars, trying to find a good deal because he, you know, we could never have enough of those.
You're a working musician. You're not making millions.
Yeah. So, you know, he was in there playing and Dad said, hey man, you're pretty good, you know, and Neil, they ended up meeting. He said, well, and they told him about me, my dad did. And he said, well, bring him on over to the Manor. You know, I own the Manor and they had a band that played over there on Wednesday nights. I don't know if you know Tony Davis.
He just passed in the past few months, in the past year or so.
Yeah, Tony was playing over there, and Darren Hooper.
And I know Darren. I was in Buckshot with Darren.
Yeah, Darren was. You know, I played in the band with Darren a long time ago, but they had a band over there playing, and I met a guy named Wesley Stone. He was the drummer. I go over there, and Neil tells me, hey, let Corey play a song and introduce himself to me. He said, why don't you get up here and play? And I did. And he said, man, you're incredible for your age. He's like, that's something. I ain't never seen nothing like it. And from there out, you know, he'd tell me, come on over on the weekend. I never drank or anything at that age. I really didn't start drinking at all until I was 21, 22 years old. I tried to stay.
Oh, you're the one.
Yeah. Yeah, I tried. Well, you know, the thing was, I seen a lot of my heroes and a lot of what had done to them and down the path. And Neil was in my ear, you know, and
that's Neil.
I went to college and of course I partied some there. But when I played, I tried not to drink a whole lot at that age before it was legal, because number one, to get the bar in trouble, and number two, it was just
You won't have a gig again,
right.
you know, and and that's I at Pickens Creek, their drummer used to come in Powdersville Pub, and he was underage, and he finally turned 21, graduated high school, and all that good stuff. And I think his first show was like he had just graduated anyway. I remember at Wild Country, I was doing video on him, and he's drinking. Oh, it clicked, you know. I was like, oh crap, he's drinking, but he can, because he's 21 now. But
I mean, there were times that I slip off and drink, but you know, for the most part, when I played, I tried to. It wasn't like I was against it or anything. I knew that if I got caught, and I would never be allowed in the manor again.
Oh yeah,
you know. So Neil would bring me over, and I would play with him and David Landers and Danny Drew and Ricky Overby that plays he played at the Blind Horse. He was Neil's drummer at the time, and that was that version of Pale Horse. And man, that was an incredible band. And David's voice was just. It was great to hear, you know. And I remember us walking in there, and like I said, we're from the small town, West Virginia, one red light, and great people there though. And we walk in the manor, and it's a packed house. And this was before the no smoking thing.
Oh yeah, full of smoke.
And I was like, man, this is what the Greenville music scene is about. And Neil, and I never really got nervous before. I played all up and down the coast as a kid, and they said, "Come on up, Corey, and jam a song with us." Man, and my hands were shaking, and I think my dad's were too. He was like, you know, back where we're from, you know, you never know. Like there could be a brawl breakout in a split second.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, I was in a club. You know, we were always taught, put your back against the wall and set a beer bottle beside you. That's how we were raised. So there's a lot of stuff. You know,
it's like being in an E club on a Marine Corps base.
It was wild, man, and I really enjoyed it. But I learned a lot. I had a lot of miles under my belt before I turned 18 years old.
Oh yeah, and that usually teaches a lot of people not to do, or it teaches them how to do stuff or not to do stuff. When I worked in jails, that's the biggest thing with me is I got to see people on their worst day, every day. They come because I worked in booking lock, and every day. And you see this girl come in and, you know, she looks like she's 40, 50 years old, 20 something. Yeah, you go through their stuff, you get their ID, and you look at them like, what happened? You know, and
there's a lot of that. And I've been sober now, you know, and I'm not going to say that I hadn't had a drink or something like that, or because I'm not a liar, but I've been pretty much completely sober now for about 3 years, and you know, it'll take hold of you. And it wasn't like I had a physical dependence on it, but it gets to this point in your mind where you walk in and you're like, I've got to play a show, so I need to drink 5 shots before I start. And
well, it takes the edge off, and I get, because I've done a folded flags, I've been on stage before, I've done stuff in front of people. Trust me, I get it. You know, people say I'm gonna take the edge off. Do it. You know, take care. You know, just don't get intoxicated. You know, there's a point. You know.
Yeah, and I mean, it starts that way. It starts to take the edge off, and then next thing you know, you have to have it to play, and then you're playing 5 nights a week, and you're drinking 10 shots. Just say 3 shots a night. 3 shots turns to 4, 4 turns to 5, and next thing you know, you have a lot of bad nights and a lot of bad hangovers.
Oh, when I was at the pub, Keisha gave me like a little $10 tab that I could, you know, eat on every night, and I'd grab a couple of beers with it. Turned around, I was spending like $10, $15 every time in there eating. Yeah. Because I was spending like, and it wasn't much, and I'm like, man, I never, because I usually drink like 1. Now I used to when I was young. Oh dear Lord, I'm glad there wasn't cameras and phones and stuff, because I'm talking about nights in Tijuana and over in Japan, just peacetime and absolutely insane, having no bills, a place to stay, and a paycheck.
And you know what? Another thing is like you're talking about phones and cameras, and back in the 80s, like you hear about all these rock stars like Motley Crue and bands like that. They would just party, and Guns N' Roses. They would party so hard and go perform. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, man, some of them shows I'm sure was terrible. And I mean, now if it's like Bailey Zimmerman, the dude can sing. You know, I've heard him sing, or but there was some videos circulating of him having a bad night, or you know, if somebody's voice is slightly off, or they're a little drunk one night, the videos circulate. It's like,
Oh yeah.
oh, this guy's terrible, and you know that's career ending for a lot of people. But you know, media tends to want to focus on the negative. They didn't get the last 30 shows before that where he was perfectly on
I
point.
nailed it every time, and
Yeah.
then, it's they catch you. I always catch your one mistake, and that happens, and that it's controversial. People want to see it. That's one thing I like about it. I try to keep everything positive on this, or
Yeah,
at least
it's all about money, man.
you know, and that kind of ticks me off, but I kind of get it because it's, you know, like there's a brawl in the street, everybody wants to see it.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, you know, there was a lot of nights where I had a little too much to drink, but I always tried to play my best and sing my best. And you know, you saw me, I was like 23 years old, and I was, you know, I was pretty lit, and I can't ever recall a time where I couldn't play. Like, and
that's the thing. If you can perform while you're, and there's a scene in the Elvis movie, the newer one, the one that came out with the Austin guy. Have you seen it? When he collapses right before he goes on stage, and then he's like, "Get that man," and everybody gets mad at Colonel Parker, Tom Parker, whatever.
that was the way of life back then.
But this is the thing. There's that scene with all those people around him. All those people are employed by him going on that stage, by you. And I kind of get that. And you know, in the military, back World War II, they used to take all sorts of stuff to keep going. And there's different things you got to do, but that was a little much. But it wasn't. There was millions of dollars.
It's not exaggerated, though. That's the thing. That's not exaggerated. You know, there was back when I was with Bev Gosden. You remember she was my manager for a minute. I remember walking in to a green room, and my voice been like this, and we done everything, man. You know, whiskey, you know, hot tea to the point where it burn your you burn your vocal cords. But once you get to a certain point vocally, you're just masking it. You're just trying to, you know. And we done 28 shows in 30 days.
Wow.
And these are not, you know, 1 hour shows. Like, these are 3 hour shows, 28 shows in 30 days, and pushed. I mean, you know, any of the band members in the band at that time,
y'all probably wanted to strangle each other too.
Oh man, that was a lot of. But we all became brothers. We were.
Brothers,
you know,
it's trauma like bonding too.
But you know, we pushed each other. You know, and I remember me and Blake Stokes. This is toward the end of the record deal that we had. We were riding down the road, and it was like 4 or 5 in the morning, and we had been in a car accident. This is, you know, this is the craziest this is the second time this happened to me. We were on our way to Myrtle Beach to play a show, and we got T-boned and busted the front tire. Well, didn't bust it, but it bent the rim and bent the frame and all that. And I remember I had blood on my head and stuff, and I was like, "Hey, dude, we just need to wrap it." You know, the cop was asking a million questions. I was like, "Hey, we need to wrap this up. We got a show to get to." He's like, "Well, I don't know if you're going to make it to I said, "We're going to the show," and you are
the show. I mean, it's
we wrapped it up, and me and Blake bounced out of there and went, you know, drove another 2 hours with the tire that was wobbling sideways, and got to the show, get out. The manager's like, "What?" You know, I had this big pump knot on my head. We get out and hook everything up and play the show. And then there was a time before that where we were on our way to Hogtails. Me and Adam Plott was in my band at that time. It was a different band, but it was me and Adam Plott, and we had a DJ that traveled with us. His name was Josh Carter. And we flipped in a Ford Explorer twice. Boom, boom. And you know, we had a trailer on the back, and all the gear was out on the road, and I had a concussion, and I didn't remember much of anything, to tell you the truth about it, but
There's a reason to use an iPad.
Yeah, they said, you know, we loaded everything up, and you know, in different vehicles, people pulled over. A lot of people was heading to the show, seen us wrecked, and we loaded everything in vehicles. Went to the show, set everything up, and played that night. And you know, I didn't remember it, so you know that's it's rough, man. I mean, you push yourself beyond max, and
I do. Trust me. We did convoy security in Iraq, and it's like a tour, but it's they'll give you what's called an Iraqi Express mission. You'll leave Kuwait, go to buyout, grab something, maybe go over to Balad, come back like 3 days, sometimes or 4. Sometimes this will be a 3-day mission, maybe a 2-day mission, and day 27, you know, you might get to come back.
yeah, that's wild, man.
You know, and you're sleeping in a Humvee, you know, living off just you go from base to base to base. They have berthing there, a tent you could get like a GP tent, 13 air conditioned. It's not like what you'd see on MASH or something, or you know what you're thinking. It's not bad, but it's more like a trucker. But it's, if you ever seen Lonesome Dove when they're moving a herd across a country,
Yeah,
that's kind of what we did. But we were the escorts of like 30 tractor trailers. And I need to talk to you one day because you have and I want to talk to you about your songwriting because you have how old are you?
35.
And I've known you for a while and you've written a lot of songs. I've listened to them. You have a lot of wisdom. You write like, it's hard to, like a storyteller, but it's more of you get something from it. And you've got one, Snake Oil. I listened to him on the way up here, and when you played at Bowling Springs, here, you play up there all the time at Wings, etc.
Yeah, I do. We do like every other Thursday.
Yeah.
Most of the time this month we're off. You know, Scott and McFalls has been so good to us, and then when we're in town, if you know we're able to do those shows, he lets us, and it's been a great gig for me.
Oh, yeah.
I've been playing up there for like 5 years now.
Yeah, so it was. I had to take 85 to get up there from Easley, so it was a horrible drive, but it was an awesome show. And but you play places like that. But I heard the song Snake Oil, and man, is another one that hit me in the jaw. I hadn't really listened to it. It's one of the things I heard it and actually made a little promo for it. Screwed something up, didn't use it, but I'm gonna make another one. But long story short, you know, even when you're working with a song, you don't listen to it.
Yeah,
I finally listened to it, and there's some the choosing a pale horse, some lyrics in there that it's a which I don't care about the monetization on the full episode anyway, but it's suicidal ideation. A lot of that in there, and being from what I came from, that kind of it was like, wow.
So Snake Oil, I wrote that at probably my lowest point in the industry. And that's one of the few songs that the lyrics came before the music. I always write music, you know, have a riff, and then I'll put, but I've started writing that song, and everything I thought about everything that I'd been through, and that, you know, a lot of songs I'll write from a different point of view. On this new album, you know,
Like as an observer, you're writing as an observer.
I'm a real observant person. I look,
Yeah.
you know, December Wind. That song was strictly. I mean, I wrote it about a friend that committed suicide, but I observe everything, like the glass on the railroad track, and it had gotten smaller, and as time went along, you know, so I used that as a kind of like a parable for time. But I try to, as a songwriter and as a person, I've always had that knack to just watch and listen and study, and that's how my mind works. But Snake Oil, you mentioned the pale horse, and you know, I'd read the Bible, read Revelation, and it talks about the pale horse in there, and you know, hell followed with him. You know, it's a pale horse, and hell follows with him, and I was like, well, that's death. you know.
Yeah.
So it was the way I wrote the song was in kind of riddles to do with the death and life in the music industry and how things get twisted and spin. And you know, you watch and you study and you understand the industry, which you know I'm not down on it because it's like anything else. You have to learn the industry to be able to participate in it. But you watch all the cutthroat that goes on, and you know everybody can shake hands and say, "Oh, this never happens." And even the local music scene, it
Oh
happens
yeah.
a lot.
We've got some drama that goes on behind the scenes, but not a lot, but there's some. And but that's a good thing that actually start off into here because we ain't got a lot of time left, but I'm gonna make some more time. Um, you have a label that's sponsoring this album.
I have sponsors, and then currently I'm with SSM Nashville. So it's you know
That's what I want to get into is like how the business end of it works. Kind of like you don't have you don't have management right now. You're kind of taking care of everything yourself.
we have a manager. We have a pretty much full staff working with us, a promo team,
Okay.
manager. Uh, Sponsors help a ton. You know, Big Hill Race Engines, and he's got Thrill TV that's out now, and then Buckshee Entertainment. That's a lot to do with the merchandise and the management side of things, and you know, Judy handles a lot of the managing side of things, and we work with a few different booking agencies. So, and then you know, the label kind of dictates different, you know, releases and things like that. But this album, we got full creative freedom.
But that's what I was wanting to ask about. There's a lot of stuff you can't do, and you're and I see you reaching out. I don't know if you're reaching out to radio stations or they're doing that. You were just on one. You're coming up on another one Friday.
Yeah.
And like how does because your song was on the radio. I listened to it on the internet, but it was on the radio. How do you get that to happen? Because there's people out here with crap. You know, it's a lot of not crap, but they got their stuff on Spotify or iTunes. How do they get on the radio?
That's radio promoters.
Yeah, that's what I want. How does that mechanism work?
It's a lot of give and take, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, radio promoters cost money. Everything in this business costs a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
And you know, luckily we have phenomenal sponsors that really believe in our product and have backed us to the fullest. You know, and that's the main thing. In this industry, in my opinion, and everybody has a different path.
Oh yeah.
You know, you got, you know, this band might make it one way, and then this next band will make it another. But everybody has a different path, and there's no one structure to make it past this point or that point.
There's no the way. There's a way, or there's no a way. There's you know.
There's a way, but there's a million ways. You know, so you know everything in the end it's a business. So you know there's money that goes in from every angle, and then there's money that comes back, and you have to balance out how bad do you want it. You know, will you go do this and play these shows and not make a penny to make it to this next level, or are you willing to sacrifice that? And it's all sacrifice, you know, from waking up at 8 a.m. and practicing 5 hours and then going to play the show that night, and then, you know, staying on the phone for the next 6 hours. It's how hard are you willing to work?
And then doing stuff like this is easy because, you know, you just sit down and talk. I mean, but
yeah,
I mean, even like the radio interviews you got coming up, which, you know, there's but you still got to make those appearances. You have to think, because you're answering questions. You have no idea usually what the person's going to ask, you know, but the mechanism of getting into, you've got a label, you've got sponsors, and you've got what? How many songs are on this album?
There's 10.
How many, like, I'm sure you didn't write 10 songs to make an album. I'm sure there's 20 or 30 sitting around there somewhere.
There's thousands.
That's what I'm about to ask. How did you choose those 10?
I wanted to. So I'm a full rounded songwriter. I don't just, you know, I'm not this is a rock album. That's my style. I'm staying in it. That's not how I work. And that's not how my band works, because Lance and Jake are two of the most talented musicians I've ever stepped on stage with. And, you know, like I said, I've been on stage with Victor Wooten, and
Oh yeah.
the greatest bass player to ever live, considered to the world, you know. So I
Oh,
played
your
with
band's awesome, man.
and those guys, you know, they drive me to be better, and it's an honor to share the stage with them. But we're all well-rounded musicians. Jazz, you know, Jake went to jazz school, and he's got a degree in jazz, and Lance went to the Fine Arts Center as well. And I didn't know that till, you know, a couple months into us playing together. And Lance, you know, we all sit down and figured out kind of where we wanted to go, and I had lyrics and riffs and stuff on the back burner. So they would come in the living room, and I would play. You know, we've rehearsed right in the living room. Bless my wife's heart, she deals with so much. But I would play a riff, and they would say, "Well, that's awesome," and I would play the whole song for them. And then they would make suggestions. You know, we should change it up here, change it up there. And Jake had a lot to do in the production. So when the album come out, it was a rock album, and the first song was "Never Say Goodbye." It was the first song that was written for this album and put together.
Yeah.
So we had that, and then I was like, well, let's grab out the old song book. And so I started going through, and I really thought that song had a lot of potential. So I said, I want to go to my roots and what I really love. And that's rock and roll. And the guys are rock musicians too, in their heart. You know, Lance, he listens to Animals as leaders and things like that. And Jake's a David Bowie fan. And so we all put our heads together and ended up being a rock album. And that's how we picked the songs. And that's really what I love to play, you know. And I think it just worked out that way.
You've got your 10 songs picked. You're ready to go record. Where was the album recorded at?
Studio 101.
That's here, and it's not. Was it Woodruff?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's in Woodruff, and we worked with a guy named Ian Guthrie, which is a phenomenal engineer, and a phenomenal producer, and he produced Snake Oil. So,
Okay.
So
it sounds good. I was listening to it on my truck all the way here. I mean, I love that song.
So when we decided to do a rock album, and the last album, you know, a lot of that was my own production. I played all the instruments on it.
Yeah.
Because it was a solo album. It wasn't.
That's what I was going to ask. I was like, because I looked up the credits, and I got a picture to show you when I leave. I had to take a picture of the screen of my truck. It's Corey Stevenson, Snake Oil, and the album covers some woman doing some.
Yeah.
It's just because of the way it transfers over for something with it. I've noticed that before with it. But I looked on the credits with Tim Lee on the last, and I had him listed on songwriting for songs I know he didn't write. He did some covers, and they screwed some up. Now look, so there must be a glitch, and I think there is. But I looked yours up even this morning, and I'm like, performers, Corey. He didn't put who else? Who played bass? Who played? So it was used.
I played Snake Oil and Drive is the two that had different musicians on them, and that was Snake Oil was the full band. You know, me, Jake, and Lance, and then Drive was Lance played drums, I played guitar and bass and everything else, and because Jake had to step out for some. You know, he had some medical problems, and we had, you know, a few other bass players at the time that just played the shows. But I wanted to, you know, that album was all me past those songs. And, you know, I think we had a couple of people do some backup vocals, but that was all recorded with a friend of mine named Michael Hall. And I would lay the tracks down, send them to him, and then he would, most of it was recorded in this room.
So you recorded at Studio 101. How long did it take you to record it?
3 days.
Now, did you do, like, this is, you watch a music make, I've never been in a studio in albums, of course. The only thing I have is you see, you know, VH1 behind the music, you know, documentaries and movies. Was you do each do an individual track, or was you in together?
Yeah,
or how did you do it?
Individually. I went in and laid down scratch tracks with an acoustic and vocals, and then Lance done we done it backwards, you know.
Yeah.
Actually, so I laid the acoustic down, vocals, and then Lance laid his drums down, and then I laid all my rhythm tracks down, and then I think the bass was the last thing recorded, and then vocals. But we done all that in 3 days. We went in and knocked it out, but we had those songs well rehearsed before we went to the studio.
So that's another thing, you have to go in prep and literally prep.
Yeah, because time is money, man.
Yeah,
the tracks. We wanted to get in, and we wanted to know. This is like Bigger as Dust. I talked about this the other day when the song was done and we worked it out in the living room. I called immediately that day, and I said, I want to get in the studio as soon as possible, because I knew, like in my heart, I know that song has a good chance. That.
Oh yeah,
dude,
I love it.
And the more time you take, and play shows, things change, and I don't want anything changed. I want to. When I heard that song and we played it in the living room, I said, down to the whammy bar dip, and I played the same. I'll never do that. I played the same solo 3 times in a row in the living room before, without even.
I gotta ask about the solo. What in the Flight of the Bumblebee? Because it starts and it's like there's a little. It's what is that? It almost sounds like something like the Flight of the Bumblebee. The little. There's a similarity there. That little, I can't.
It's a chromatic thing. It's a B flat B C, and I'm picking. What I call triple picking.
Yeah,
that's a big part of my playing. It comes from Yngwie Malmsteen, all the shredders, and
that's what I'm saying. It sounded classical familiar, like something like Randy Rhoads, or something that has that. You could hear.
So I wanted that part of the song. We talked about all the sad stuff and all the crazy stuff going on, and that was really like symbolic, because I wanted to make it chaos. I wanted,
Yeah, because it hits you. It's like, all right, here we go with the solo. Bam! Like, what in the world was that? Because when I heard it live, I think I have to find the video. I think I muted them all, but you could see, because it almost makes me jump. You could see the camera jump, because we're doing it in Bowling Springs, and I was like, that's different, and this. I've never had a solo have a hook. Hear a solo have a hook like that, and
I wanted that song meant so much. Really, honestly, this song meant so much to me that every little part was thought out from the solo. A lot of times, like, I'll go into the studio and I won't have the solo laid out. I'll go in and just play it, kind of on the spot.
Yeah.
I'm luckily, I had improv. I had a lot of studied improv a lot, and I'm able to kind of play on the fly. And that's how a lot of solos are recorded. But when I went into that studio, I wanted to have that solo laid out, and there was a few songs like that on this album. And I took every note was rehearsed and memorized when I went in to record that.
So that like I said, the solos, the lyrics are awesome, and it's all about it's a funeral. I mean, it's about the end of everything.
Yeah.
And dude, there's a lot of meaning. But you're a great storyteller. Every song I've ever heard from you, and there's one, Drinking Like Hank.
Yeah.
That was a little different, but
I wrote that about my daughter though. That was, people misconstrued that for like
a party song.
And it was actually a heartfelt, like, if it was slowed down, it would have been a ballad, like the lyrically, because
oh man.
So the second verse is, see you later, daddy's gone for the weekend to make money, pay bills. I hope you understand. I know it's hard right now, but hope someday you'll be proud. These record deals ain't easy to come by. There were others, but I chose this life. You hear the truck starting up outside, and I know you hate that sound.
I remember that in that song, and like, what is it? This is a Drinking Like Hank. What the heck is that in there for?
Yeah, man. It was like, that was my lifestyle at the time.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And my daughter, when I get ready to leave, she would, her name's Scarlett, and she really wanted me to stay home with her. And it's just like, I had to explain. And I said, well, she's not going to understand being so young. So I'm going to give her something to remember what I was doing. And I'm out here, paying bills with my music, and and I'm leaving you because I want you to have nice stuff, you know. And I think it was it Denzel Washington. He said you can either have me here with you all the time, or you can have a place to live, you can have nice clothes to
Yeah.
wear. And he said, you know, it's a man's job to provide, and that's how I was raised, and that's how I feel about it.
Me and you need to sit down one day, and I just need to tell you a bunch of stories and have you write some songs. Here's one that'll catch you when you said something about that. When we deployed to Iraq, we got these big black boxes to put all our crap in. You know, we went down to the armory. Everybody's spending the night getting everything ready. They're going to ship those out, getting all your gear in there. When we're going to Fort Dix to train, and we get to the armory, we're popping on, getting ready to go. We kind of getting out what we need, what we don't need, what we need to put in a pack, what we need to keep in the box. Everybody's opening their box at the same time, and everybody's finding stuffed animals. Their kids and went in and left them. So they take it with them.
That's wild, man.
And it's seeing just, like this is, I'm tearing up right now because you see that and what it meant. And the kids knew.
They wanted to comfort them, man. And that's enough to make you tear up. Them, man, kids, they're, and I've talked about my faith several times since we started talking, but kids especially small kids, are the closest thing to Jesus Christ and God that you'll ever see. They're so innocent and they love so deep and so hard that they wanted, that was probably their favorite toy, their favorite stuffed animal. And
That's what I'm saying. The look on the guys' faces when they seen that, and I had a stepson at the time, and I got a couple, and it was they wanted you to, but and my uncle told me something one time. He's a preacher. He said when everything's done, he says you can't be judged instantly. He said there's everything has to end. He said because all the influence you had on your kids and the influence they have on their kids, he said you're accountable for all that.
Yeah.
And that kind of made me woof, and that's kind of wow. You have to do everything right. If you're a father, and that's but you recorded it. We got to get onto this. You recorded the album, you got it recorded, ready to go, and that gets handed over to the label and your management team to go in to get into the promotion of it. Now, how does that work? They set up the radio interviews for you.
Some of that is a label is more of a distribution thing.
Yeah.
That they.
Well, I mean, your management team and your label.
Our manager, and management team that, stay on the phone 6-8 hours a day, working as hard as they can work to try to put us into the right hands and the right eyes and play politics. I mean, that's what it is at the end of the day. You got to play politics, and you got to talk to all these people, and luckily there's some kind-hearted DJs and kind-hearted people that want to give the smaller bands and people that's trying to rise up a chance. And really at the end of it all, it's all about somebody saying, hey, I'll give you a chance. I'll put it. And if they hear it and they like it, they will, and that's what's happened for us, and that's the reason we're as far as we are right now, is because we've had Big Kill Race Engines and Buckshee Entertainment, and those people, Ken Asbury, and there's another name that I really don't want to, I'm not allowed to talk about. That, he just asked that his name not be mentioned in anything. But I recognize him and I appreciate him.
The unspoken one.
Rigsby's Classic Rock actually helped us and sponsored us on this album, and that meant a lot too. But all these people, they hear you and they believe in what they hear.
Oh yeah.
And then they say, okay, well, I'm gonna put my 2 cents in and my money and or my backing or my words and give these guys a chance. And that's something that It just has to happen, like, and it's luck. Some of it's luck, and a lot of it is just persistence and hard work. And like I said, it's treating music like a job. It's waking up every morning and clocking in, and being able to balance music and family, because a lot of times music will override everything, and you won't even spend time with the people you love. And
Oh yeah, and the way music is done, the way this podcast is done. This summer I've done way too much. I've gotten backed up on stuff. I've got a digital desk that's like a huge clutter right now, but I'll catch it up. The only thing is, if you don't balance it, just like we're talking about the different steps of your album, you got to write the songs, pick out what songs you got, and there's also getting the sponsors, all those little steps you have to make something. And there's a balance even in that.
if I had any advice to somebody trying to do what we're doing right now, it would be to really write music that you want to hear. Don't try to be the next Morgan Wallen, or don't try to be the next Guns N' Roses. Don't try to mimic anybody.
Be you.
Practice, learn their stuff, learn everything that you can learn. It's never ending. I mean, I practice, like I said, right now I practice 4 to 5 hours a day. Learn their stuff, and let what you've learned seep into what you're writing. Write from your heart.
Oh, your songs are straight up 90s rock, 90s country. There's influence there, all of that. But the thing of it is that that's like the outside. Then you have to listen to it. The whole history of rock is kind of behind it. All you can hear Clapton, Hendrix. You can hear stuff. I guess influences.
Yeah.
Not mimics or anything like that. It's you're one of the few people I listen to a song and go, that's an influence, not a trying to be like somebody. You have your own style.
And when that's, like I said, I don't sit down and say, well, I'm going to write a country song today. My music is.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. And if, it's not for everybody. I mean, I'm sure there's people that's like, oh, skip, on to the next artist. But I can honestly say that it's from the heart and it's real, and that's something I'm proud of.
Oh yeah, dude, you do well, and we got to go over the dates real quick and wrap this thing up, so I won't have a huge file to deal with. But you've got September 12th coming up. That's going to be the Bigger As Dust release, and I'll have you say all this again. The album release is October 17th, and you have is the Denver Downs show. Is that like this?
It's our release party.
Okay, now next question is, I was about to say CD release party. Is there going to be any physical copies?
Yeah, we're going to have albums and CDs.
Okay. I'll need to get a couple from you, because what I'm thinking about doing is doing some type of giveaway.
Yeah, and we'll have albums, CDs, shirts, hoodies, hats. We'll have the album name is Loaded 44. We'll have everything from koozies all the way up to hoodies and signed pictures. So we'll have any kind of merchandise that you could possibly want.
What we do is if you want to, we can put a little. I've been thinking about doing this with a bunch of different bands, but just for the album release, I don't know. We can do it running on mine, run on yours, however you want to do it. Put like a little swag bag together and do it like a couple of giveaways.
That'd be cool.
Somehow either do it. I don't know. We'd figure something out between now and then. But I'm going to film the October 17th show, and you've got somebody multi-tracking.
Yeah.
Recording that, so that hopefully that'll not because we don't know it's going to happen, or everything. It could rain, everything can go crazy. But
yeah,
it's just, yeah. But it's actually, I got the covers to go over these, so I could actually film in the rain. So, but it's October 17th. The album comes out. You've got a show that day. Denver. What about Denver Downs? Is that a ticketed event? Walk out.
I think it's like $15 or $20 a ticket. They have their own thing, and we're just so happen to be doing our album release party at their place. And
yeah, it was on the schedule for the show, and
and it worked out perfect. And that was a day that was decided by everybody, and because I think like October, it's not too hot, not too cold, and it's a great venue, outside event, and
now they have. I've looked at the stage but do they have like got to bring your own chair? Or they have places.
Yeah, you just bring your own lawn chair.
That's just usually important. You get to play.
Yeah. I mean,
the whole logistical thing.
Hopefully nobody needs a chair and everybody just stands up the whole time. Yeah, from beginning to end.
But we'll get on to the. Did we name everybody in this interview? I mean, like that had to be named, not had to be named, but anybody that had their hands in the album. Is everybody?
I'm thinking so. The huge thanks. The all around thanks was Rigsby's Classic Rock, Big Hill Race Engines with Thrill TV, Buckshee Entertainment, the unnamed one as you said, and Ken Asbury, and those are I'd like to also say a huge thanks to my wife, man, because
she runs sound.
She helps.
Does everything.
She has a million jobs, and she works daylight to dark every day right alongside me. And, and she stepped into this, and to tell you the truth about it, she didn't have a clue about any of it. And she's worked with me and learned and studied and done as much work as I have when it comes to the business side and the production side. And also, Mike Carroll will be running our sound that day, and he's my favorite engineer in the Upstate.
Oh, he's good.
He's phenomenal, man. If you got gear and Mike Carroll can't make it sound good, then you're hopeless. You need to get rid of all your stuff and quit, because he's great.
What?
And Neil McJunkin, you mentioned him, man. Neil was there for me in my worst times, and he's been there with me through my best times, and he's been a huge influence on me as a person, even more than a musician. And
Neil's one of the best people and musicians in the Upstate, and him and a guy named Bobby Massengill, I think, is probably the nicest.
Bobby's a really nice guy too.
Musician in the Upstate. Neil's like right under him, as far as being the most, and that's just Bobby's just always been just really. It's just. He makes you smile, and Neil does too. But Bobby just makes you feel good about being around him. I don't know. Plus, he's a phenomenal guitar player.
When Neil walks into the room, man, it's like there's an energy shift.
Oh yeah,
and the world is a better place. Then that's what I want people to say about me when I'm older, is that I made the world a better place somehow or another. And to me, Neil was that guy. He's made this world a better place just all the way around, and his influence on everybody. And I love that guy.
We're going to get into the wonderful 3 questions. What do you think you would be doing if you never got into music? I mean, heck,
I'd just be dead, bro. I'll just tell you the truth.
That'd be mine, but not military. But you wouldn't even probably come down to Greenville or be here. You'd be still in West Virginia, most likely.
If
it's not a bad thing.
I wanted to be as a child, I wanted to be a professional baseball player until I had my hip injury and was bedfast. That's how I started playing music. So if I would have picked anything else, it would have been a professional baseball player, or I would have I'd probably be a coal miner, to tell you the truth about it, because
that's what you do up there.
Yeah.
Either you sell intoxicating substances, all sorts legal and illegal, or you coal miner. It's just, I've been to West Virginia like once or twice, and I've got some friend people I serve with, great people, but there's not a lot there.
Yeah, and the coal mines is like it's a way of life there. And
oh yeah,
my dad was a coal miner. My papa was a coal miner. My papa's dad, my mom's dad. Everybody was coal miners, and it's the best way of making an honest living in West Virginia. And dude, as far as respect goes, like
that's his job.
Jesus, man. I mean, I remember, my dad got his leg smashed when I was a kid, and it was smashed completely flat. And I was like, dude. And he told me, he said, you'll never go in a hole like I have to. And he said, I'm gonna do everything in my power to make sure I get you out of here.
Well, you've got the skill and the talent to never go hungry. I mean, you've got a voice, you've got guitar playing, and even if you ended up just playing the bar gigs on the weekends, you could teach. There's all sorts of revenue streams you can get out of music. Even, and this is going to sound bad. Even if you fail, if you've got the skill set that you have, you're going to win every time.
This is something that I can honestly say I've already won, man. playing music for a living. I've done things and seen things that most people will never get to,
Oh yeah.
and the main thing is I can, if it all ended tomorrow, I could hold my head high. So, and Greg Payne from the Piedmont Boys, and he reminded me of that a few years back. It's been over a few years, but I said I'll make it. I'll make it one day, And he said, "You already made it, Corey." He said,
You're doing what you love.
"Well," and Neil brought it up. I go out here and I play, and I look out in the crowd, and there's been people come up to me and say, "Hey, man, if you wasn't here and you didn't play that song tonight, things would have been terrible things would have happened." I'm not going to go into detail of what they said, or they, they'll say, "Man, I really needed that." And I've seen people cry, I've seen people laugh, I've seen people dance and hold each other. And,
oh yeah,
and that's all. That's if I died tomorrow, I left a legacy. Because that's, to me, that's the most important thing in life, is being able to leave a good legacy. And if I can make somebody's day better with my music, and I can help them in that way, I've done my job time and time over, and I've already succeeded, man.
Now here's the next question. Kind of, this is geared to something I needed to know in the military, is when you're out there on stage and things go wrong.
Oh God.
And one thing I'm learning with you guys is the equipment I had in the military was lowest bidder. You guys maintain and keep you don't have as many malfunctions, but what kind of equipment malfunctions, or the worst one you've seen, or worst one you've been experienced in, and how was it recovered from?
I broke 7 strings on one night. That was so I had a small string endorsement, and I'm not going to throw nobody under the bus, because this business is hard enough as it is. I got a bunch of packs of strings, strung up the guitar. The strings felt phenomenal. Just played a few notes. I was like, "We're good." And stretch, pull, whatever. Got out on stage. 2 songs in, pop, broke a string. And I had 2 guitars too. Get the other guitar. And while the tech that I was working with me was stringing that one up, popped another one. Got that guitar. Before the end of the 3rd song, I popped 3 more strings and then switched guitars again. Popped a string and called a break. And then this was a big show. Like this, we were playing for 500 or 600 people at that point, in the crowd. Everybody was up front doing the whole thing you're talking about. And I was like, man, I said, we're going to have to take a few seconds. And I went and grabbed, I was using Ernie balls, before that string company. And I grabbed the Ernie balls out, threw them on, played the rest of the show, never broke a string.
Could have been a bad batch. Things happen.
Yeah, I did. At that point, to tell you the truth, I didn't care. I was like, don't ever.
You're not going to trust it. It's not enough to trust me. I get it. I've had equipment failures like that where you and this is the thing that you got taught a lesson. I got taught. I'm not going to talk about mine, but it definitely won't be monetized. But when you get a piece of equipment that you don't have time to test, you didn't have time to test thoroughly, go through it, and say okay, and don't do that again, because if next time you get something, take a set of those strings. And same thing with these tripods, the chairs I have, everything. I've put them through. I've had these mics and these phones running for like 4 hours in my garage, just seeing how long they could run. Yeah. I've run out my batteries. I have all my lights to do this. That's a big lesson learned. Any piece of equipment you have, you need to put it through the test before you end up having the failure on stage. And speaking of stage, we'll get to the next one, the fantasy band. You can either 3-piece, 4-piece, however many musicians in the Upstate, nobody famous, and nobody that's currently in your band.
Okay. Yeah, I pretty much got my fantasy band right now, but we'll do that. People I like to jam with. I guess I'd love to. You mentioned Will James. I'd like to jam with him.
That would be phenomenal.
Me and Will and Neil McJunkin. I'd like to have 3 guitars. me, Will, Neil McJunkin, and bass players. Let's see, probably. I really like Mark McMakin. Do you know Mark?
I know that name. I've seen that name.
He played with Mac Arnold.
Okay. I think that's where I've seen it. On something.
And my favorite drummer that I played with was Scotty Hawkins. Other than Lance,
Okay.
Scotty passed, but I got to play with Scotty, and that was the gig of a lifetime, man. Like just sharing the stage with him.
Did he have a wife that was in music?
I don't think so.
It might be another.
Scotty played with Reba McEntire and all them.
Okay, that's that. There's a couple of people like with Neil with Slewfoot, like Slew was supposed to kind of replace Alabama at the Bowery.
Yeah.
And then they kind of faded out, but there's like two songwriters, the Watermelon Crawl. I can't remember that guy's name. And there's several people in the Upstate that have, like you were talking about, you come from West Virginia to Greenville. There's so much talent down here, and there's still talent down here that's going crazy. This is one of the best places to be. And
yeah, it's the Upstate is a great place to be as far as music goes.
Who on vocals?
Man, there's so many vocals. Jada McLaughlin.
Oh yeah,
Jada was great. I'd like to have Jada and JC doing harmonies and sharing some lead stuff. They're sisters, and there's great harmonies too, man.
Wait a minute, is one of them with is it
the Revival?
Huh?
With the Revival, you're talking about JC. It's a different JC.
I'm horrible with names. That's why.
Yeah, I can't remember her last name, but yeah, I know who you're talking about. Jada and JC are sisters, and they sing in now and then. I think JC joins her with a band called the Revival, and then I would have vocally, man. I'd like to have a dude vocalist too. I mean, there's a ton of them. We'll move to the musicians. So me, Neil, and Will on guitars. I'd like to have Jada and JC singing together, and I would like to have, I would like to have Dina Norris singing as well. So I would have 3 female singers. Dina Norris she can
be like Elvis, man. Go on.
Yeah, dude. If you heard Dina sing, like she sings like all the '80s Skid Row stuff, and
yeah,
she can do all that. And then you'd have Jada. She can sing pretty much anything.
Yeah, I've heard her sing with you. I mean, it's at the pub.
And then JC could sing anything. So you'd have those 3, and then I would sing. Neil sings, and I think does Will sing.
He does some harmonies a little bit.
So you'd have like 25-part harmony. So
that's probably the only instrument I don't know. I hadn't talked to him in years. I was in a band with him. It was his first band, but I'm pretty sure he that's the one instrument he I think he might be embarrassed to use. But I've heard him sing a little bit of backup. He's good.
Yeah. So you'd have the 3 guitar players singing harmony. You'd have Jada and JC and Dina. They can all sing harmony and sing. They can all sing lead. And then I could sing lead, Neil could sing lead, and then I would have Adam Plott on drums. Adam's played with everybody from time to time. He's a great drummer, man. He really is. He's a solid rock drummer.
Oh yeah.
And then for bass, I'd probably just either go with Mark McMakin or Mean Joel Green.
Okay, he's is it Area 49, and isn't he with them?
I think Joel plays with Remedy 58.
There's a number in there. I'm like I said, I'm terrible with names, man. I forget my own sometimes.
So I played in a band with Adam and Joel at one point. So that would be the 2 that I would join in with, and then me, Neil, and Will, and then Jada, JC, and Dina. And then I'd like to have Aaron Bowen on keys.
Oh yeah, I've heard him play before. I think I heard him play with Tim one time. He's played with a few people.
And then I think that would be about the round of it, man. I don't think you really need anything else. Maybe a fiddle player, maybe Matt Parks playing fiddle. That'd be cool to have.
Oh yeah, he's who's he with? He with the Piedmont Boys now? Or he was.
No, he was.
He's some. He was some. I seen him on something recently, and I can't remember. Was it Luke Deuce?
Yeah,
Was he
probably
playing with
so.
him? I
And
think.
and one more, I would have Adrian Lee in there.
Okay.
Adrian Lee from 3 and 20.
Okay.
Adrian's he can sing that like hard rock, got that hard rock voice too, and then he can rap. So you'd have all genres and be able to cover anything and play anything, and it would be just a big wide variety of music.
It'd be either everybody runs off in the wrong direction or everybody runs in the same direction.
Yeah, I mean, that's the fun of music.
Oh yeah,
it's like, playing some Linda Ronstadt, and then Adrian start rapping, and I'd start playing Flight of the Bumblebees.
we got to wrap things up here, but if you could just look at the camera, say who you are, who you play with, your social medias, your website, and if you could just cover again the dates of the releases that's coming out and what they are.
All right. Corey Stevenson and the band's Corey Stevenson Band. Website's CoreyStevensonMusic.com. We got an album or a single coming out September 12th. It's called Bigger as Dust. October 17th, we got our album coming out, and it's called Loaded 44. And we have Facebook, Instagram, and we'll be on Spotify and Apple and all that.
You're on TikTok too, aren't you?
Yeah. I always forget about that one.
Oh yeah,
we'll be on TikTok. We're on TikTok too. So if y'all want to follow and keep up with us, we sure appreciate it, and we appreciate your support. And thanks for having me on.
No problem, man. I want to have you on again because, like I said, we talked a lot about that. You've got a lot to offer the music community. You've done pretty much everything a lot of these guys want to do. And the majority of the people that watch this podcast, I've noticed, are musicians. And you can kind of tell, like, my reels and everything, like the numbers drop on the weekends.
Yeah, everybody's out doing it.
And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and it kind of picks up and it drops down. It's all during, you can see who interacts with it. People. Matter of fact, Lance came up to me at the Rossi Fest, and Angela from the lead singer of Widow Lake was standing beside me, and this kind of made me feel real cool. But Lance, he looks over and he comes over, walks over to us, and I've had to do this with you with fans. I've done it with every musician. You're sitting there talking to somebody, and somebody walks up, and you kind of step out of the way to let them talk to. And I kind of stepped back and let him talk to Angela. He comes and say, "Hey, man, I love the podcast." I'm like, "Whoa, crap! You're coming over to talk to me." This is weird for me. But
yeah, I mean, Lance is he's a great dude, and he, me and him are like we've become like brothers. The first time we ever played together, we had a chemistry, and I've me and him talk about your podcast a lot, man, and we got a lot of respect for you for doing what you do and putting the Upstate music out there, because, like you said, Upstate's got more talent. Really, to me, it's got more talent than Nashville or anywhere else in the world. We, just ain't been recognized yet. And
there's so many guys out there that want to do this. They want to go out. They want to do it the right way. And there's a kid. I don't know if you know who he is. CJ Brewer. Have you seen him? Look him up. He does like he's young, and he's doing like little tips for bands, and he's young, and I'm looking at him like, what do you know? And the wisdom of Solomon's coming out of this kid's mouth. I mean, he's everything he said, as far as what I know about the music business, is the local scene has been right, and he's really either like the George Strait show they had. He did some type of like pre-show for that, not open for them, but like I guess played for them or something, like the because those are big. That's a carnival tour, not really, but when they come in, it's a huge. Got so many crew. I think they had like a party for the crew or something. Well, I think awesome. he did something like that. But
if that's the beautiful thing, man. That this kid's already doing that, and that's the main thing that I really. If I had to get anything across from what's in my heart and what's on my mind to say today, it's that we should all help each other, and there should be no backstabbing and throat cutting, man. and I've seen it done so many times, and so many people, I've helped people, and that's out here they're slicing my legs out from under me, and I've seen it happen so many times, and I would love to see everybody bond together and get rid of all that, because there's enough going around to where we can all eat and enjoy ourselves and play music and shake hands and love each other, And if I have a night off and see my buddies playing down the road, or somebody that I don't know, I'll go listen and try to support them.
I seen you come in the pub one night, and there was a guy. I'm not gonna say who it was, but you scared me to death for about 30 seconds. You walked up, you come stood beside me, and you looked, and you said, "That's my guitar." And I was like, "What do you mean by that? Like the guy stole it? What was?" He said, "Nah, because I asked, I said, what do you mean?" And he said, "Nah, I sold that guitar to whoever, and I guess he
Audio
bought
Centro.
And sometimes you said Pegasus something or something. I remember the word Pegasus in it. I don't know what, but you'd sold that guitar to somebody, and this guy ended up with it. And I was like, man, go ask him. And I said, everybody knows who you are in the Upstate. It's an Upstate music scene. Everybody knows who Corey Stevenson is. Because I was like, go ask, go play the thing. I don't know that guy. I'm not gonna. I'm like, man, that proved a lot to me about you right there. And we got to get off here, but and that was a good thing to end on what you just said. But we got to end this thing because I'm in a like hour and 15 minutes. But thank you for watching the Upstate Music Channel. Check out Corey Stevenson and Corey Stevenson Band. And September 12th, got a Bigger as Dust being released, and October 17th, the album being released. And we'll try to figure something out. Maybe somebody can win an album. But thank you for watching the Upstate Music Channel, and we'll see you out there on stage somewhere. Thank you for watching.
See you soon.
South Carolina and Greenville, we have the top-notch musicians, man. It's awesome to see the variety that we have around here and the way things kick.
That's nice. I'm tired.
But keep it rocking, Greenville. We'll see you.